When a narcissist stops having sex with you, it's not just a physical withdrawal. It's a calculated move that cuts deep into your soul. This is not about lost desire or busy schedules. This is about control. It's about using your God-given need for intimacy as a weapon against you. The narcissist doesn't see sex as a mutual exchange of love and connection. They see it as currency, as leverage, as a tool to keep you off balance and questioning your worth. And my friend, that is not love, it is manipulation. You see, when a person with a narcissistic spirit begins to withdraw physically, they are often trying to create an emotional famine in your life. They want you to beg for what should be freely given in a healthy, loving relationship. And when you start to question yourself, am I not attractive enough? What did I do wrong? That's when they know they've succeeded, because now they've taken the focus off their brokenness and placed the burden on your shoulders. But let me tell you something today. You are not the problem. You are not unlovable. You are not unwanted. You are being spiritually attacked by someone who has made themselves the center of their own universe. Love does not withhold as punishment. The Word of God says that perfect love casts out fear. But in the narcissist's world, fear and confusion are tools used to maintain control. When they stop having sex with you, they're not just rejecting your body, they're trying to dominate your spirit. They want to create a silent war inside you, one where you're constantly questioning, constantly blaming yourself, constantly trying harder to earn what should never need to be earned. That is not of God. The Bible warns us that in the last days, the love of many will grow cold. We're seeing it happen. Not just in the world, but in the secret places of relationships, in bedrooms where affection has turned to ice. This is spiritual warfare. The narcissist's refusal to connect is more than emotional cruelty. It's a signal that something is deeply wrong in their heart. They've hardened it, not just toward you, but toward the God who created love, intimacy, and covenant. And when someone pulls away like that, it's a red flag from heaven. It's a divine alarm sounding in your spirit. Pay attention. This is not how my love operates. So if you're in that place right now, confused and wounded by the silence, I want you to know this: God sees. He sees the nights you've cried yourself to sleep. He sees the way you've questioned your beauty, your value, your worth. And he says to you today, you are not defined by their rejection. You are mine. You are loved. You are whole. Do not let their silence drown out the voice of the one who would never withhold his love from you. Turn your eyes back to the one who gave everything so that you would never question your value again. Sex was never meant to be just a physical act. In God's design, it is a sacred covenant, a spiritual union between two souls, a bond that reflects the depth of intimacy he desires to have with us. When a narcissist enters that sacred space, they do not treat it as holy. They see it as a performance, a transaction, or worse, a tool of manipulation. And when they withhold it, they're not just pulling away from your body, they're breaking a covenant, dishonoring something God created to be pure, mutual, and deeply spiritual. When you engage in physical intimacy, something much more profound happens than what meets the eye. The Word tells us that two become one flesh. That union is not just physical, it's emotional, mental, and deeply spiritual. It is meant to be a place of safety, a place of connection, a place where walls fall and vulnerability is welcomed. But with a narcissist, that sacred space becomes twisted. It no longer reflects the love of Christ. It becomes a battleground for control, pride, and emotional sabotage. The narcissist uses sex when it benefits them and withholds it when it doesn't. It's not about love, it's about dominance. And when they stop having sex with you, they are sending a message. I decide when you feel loved. I decide when you feel wanted. I hold the power. But they are wrong. That is not the power God intended. The Lord never designed intimacy to be used as a weapon. In fact, Scripture calls us to give ourselves to one another in love, to serve each other with kindness, not to manipulate or punish. When the sacred act of intimacy is broken, it reflects a deeper spiritual problem. The narcissist may still go through the motions of a relationship, but their heart is far from truly connecting. This kind of disconnect shows that something has hardened in them. They no longer value the spiritual meaning behind the physical act. They no longer see your heart. They only see their ego. They no longer desire union. They desire control. But here's what I need you to understand today. The breaking of this intimacy is not your fault. It is not a reflection of your worth or your desirability. It is a reflection of a broken spirit within them, a spirit that has lost touch with the sacred. And if you've been trying to fix it by giving more, loving harder, sacrificing your peace, know this: God never asked you to compromise your soul to keep someone else comfortable in their sin. You were made for a love that reflects heaven. You were made for a connection that mirrors Christ's love for his church, selfless, gentle, sacrificial, and pure. Don't let someone's misuse of what is holy cause you to forget your value. If the intimacy has died, don't just look at the physical symptoms. Ask God to reveal the spiritual root. Because where true love abides, intimacy flows freely. Where manipulation reigns, love withers. And God is calling you back to what's real. When a narcissist stops having sex with you, it's rarely an isolated incident. It is often part of a bigger pattern, a calculated shift in behavior that marks the beginning of emotional and spiritual abuse. At first, everything may have felt like a dream. They showered you with affection, made you feel seen, wanted, even adored. But over time, something changed. The affection faded, the warmth turned cold, and then the intimacy stopped. But the pain didn't stop with the physical distance. It grew deeper, because along with that silence came confusion, self-doubt, and emotional abandonment. What you're experiencing is not just a relationship going through a dry season. It's a form of control. The narcissist starts by idealizing you, making you feel like you're everything they ever wanted. But once they believe they've secured your loyalty, they begin the slow, painful process of devaluation. They start to pull away, not just physically, but emotionally and spiritually. They may stop affirming you, stop encouraging you, and begin to criticize the very things they once praised. Their affection becomes conditional, their presence unpredictable. This emotional withdrawal is strategic. It keeps you in a state of questioning. You begin to ask yourself, what did I do wrong? Am I not good enough? How do I get them to love me again? And that's exactly what they want. Because as long as you're focused on fixing yourself, you won't recognize that the problem isn't you, it's the brokenness in them. They are using silence and withholding as tools to create dependency. This isn't love, it's spiritual manipulation. The absence of intimacy becomes a weapon. They know that love, true love, nurtures through closeness and connection, but instead of drawing near, they retreat. And their retreat speaks volumes. It says, I am in control. I'll give you pieces of me when I feel like it. And when I don't, you'll suffer in silence. This kind of emotional torment is subtle, but it's real. It eats away at your confidence. It makes you feel unworthy, and slowly you begin to lose sight of who you are. But God sees what they're doing. He sees the way they use your heart like a toy. He sees the confusion in your mind, the ache in your spirit. And he wants to remind you today, emotional abuse is never from him. Silence is not how love speaks. Withdrawal is not how love acts. The enemy loves to hide behind charm and charisma, but his fruits always reveal his hand. Confusion, fear, control, shame. And none of that comes from the Spirit of God. You deserve to be cherished, not manipulated. You deserve honesty, not mind games. When someone begins to withhold affection and intimacy as punishment or power, it's a spiritual red flag. It's not just harmful, it's ungodly, and you do not have to stay trapped in that cycle. Lift your eyes to the one who never pulls away. He will never gaslight you. He will never abandon you. His love is constant, his embrace is safe, and his truth sets you free. When someone disconnects from God, it's only a matter of time before they disconnect from love, from truth, and from genuine intimacy. The narcissists may still be in your life physically, they may sit beside you, speak to you, even claim to love you, but their spirit is far away. far from accountability, far from humility, far from the presence of God. And when their spirit begins to drift, so does their ability to connect with you on any real meaningful level. What once felt tender and close now feels hollow, cold, distant, because intimacy, true intimacy, requires vulnerability. And vulnerability requires a heart surrendered to God. You can't give what you don't have. And when someone has hardened their heart toward the Lord, they lose the capacity to give real love. They may still offer imitation, fake apologies, surface level affection, moments of charm, but it's not rooted in the Spirit. It's not flowing from a place of truth. It's performance, not partnership. And it will always leave you empty. The narcissist often refuses to deal with their wounds, their pride, their need for control. And instead of running to God for healing, they put up walls. Walls between themselves and the Lord, and eventually walls between themselves and you. Sexual intimacy in its God-designed form is about more than bodies. It's about unity. It's about oneness. But when someone is spiritually disconnected, their body may still be present, yet their heart and spirit are long gone. That kind of detachment is confusing. It's painful. You can feel it, even if you can't always explain it. You know something is wrong, but they'll often gaslight you into believing it's all in your head. You'll ask why the connection feels broken, and they'll either deny it or blame you. But in truth, what you're sensing is a spiritual vacancy, an absence of God's presence in their soul, which naturally causes distance in every area of the relationship. The deeper issue isn't just about sex, it's about the absence of spiritual fruit. Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness. These are not present where the Spirit of God is not welcome. And when those fruits are missing, intimacy will always suffer. You cannot build a healthy relationship with someone who refuses to be spiritually accountable. You cannot build connection with someone who has made themselves their own God. The narcissist does not seek reconciliation, they seek control. They don't want to love you, they want to own you. And God did not create you for that. But here's the good news. You don't have to stay in that spiritual drought. You don't have to settle for crumbs when God has prepared a feast. If someone has turned away from Him and in turn pulled away from you, lift your eyes higher. The Lord is near to the brokenhearted. He sees the ache. He knows the weight. And He is calling you into a place where intimacy flows not just from touch, but from truth. From a heart connected to His. From a love that never lets go. Sometimes what feels like heartbreak is actually a holy warning. When the narcissist stops having sex with you, it's easy to internalize the rejection and blame yourself. But what if the silence is not just silence? What if the absence of intimacy is not just about disconnection, but a divine red flag? A spiritual alarm going off in your soul, whispering, pay attention, something is not right here. God often speaks in ways we overlook, not always with thunder, but sometimes through the ache of withdrawal, the weight of emotional absence, the confusion that lingers where love should live. You may have prayed for clarity, for peace, for answers, and perhaps you didn't expect the answer to come in this form. But when someone begins to pull away from the covenant of intimacy, not because of healing, illness, or mutual understanding, but as a way to punish, control, or devalue you, it becomes a spiritual issue, not just a relational one. And the Holy Spirit, in His mercy, begins to uncover the truth. He begins to lift the veil so you can see beyond the charm, beyond the words, beyond the surface, and into the reality of what is happening in your heart and home. The absence of sex in a committed relationship may seem like a small thing to others, but to God it is significant, because God sees the intent behind the action. He knows when someone is using withholding to manipulate you. He knows when their heart has grown cold, not just toward you, but toward Him. And He will not allow His child to stay blind to deception. That ache you feel, that constant wondering, what changed, what went wrong? It might just be the Spirit prompting you to open your eyes Not to bring shame, but to bring freedom. Not to condemn, but to awaken you to the truth. Sometimes God removes intimacy not to punish you, but to protect you. Sometimes he allows the relationship to feel empty so you will seek him with your whole heart. Because if everything stayed comfortable, you might never question what's broken. But discomfort often precedes deliverance. God is too loving to leave you in the dark. He is too faithful to let you remain in a counterfeit connection that is draining your spirit. And so he sends a warning, not always with loud words, but with distance, silence, and the quiet unraveling of false intimacy. Don't ignore the red flags just because your heart wants to stay. Don't dismiss the spiritual check in your spirit just because your emotions are entangled. If something feels off, it probably is, and God is not the author of confusion. He is the God of peace. He is the one who restores what's real and removes what's fake. If the intimacy has stopped and the love feels poisoned, ask him to reveal what he sees. He will show you, and when he does, trust him enough to follow his lead, even if it hurts. Because his warnings are not rejections. They are rescue missions wrapped in grace. Your worth was never meant to be measured by someone else's ability to love you, affirm you, or stay consistent with you. But when a narcissist stops being intimate, when they withhold affection, when they act like you no longer matter, it can feel like a blow to the deepest parts of your soul. You begin to question everything, your beauty, your desirability, your value. That's exactly what the narcissist wants. They want you to look inward and assume the fault lies within you, when in reality the issue lies in their inability to love properly. When a person is governed by pride and control, they don't just harm others, they distort truth. They turn love into a transaction. Intimacy becomes a reward for compliance, and silence becomes punishment for disobedience. In that twisted dynamic, you start believing that if you were just a little more this or a little less that, maybe they would come close again. But let me tell you the truth today. Their inability to love you in a consistent, healthy, and godly way is not your fault. It's a reflection of the brokenness inside of them, not the beauty inside of you. God never created you to beg for love. He never designed intimacy to be earned by perfection or sacrificed to manipulation. He created you with divine worth, wrapped in purpose, crowned with dignity. And when someone treats you as less, when they dangle their affection like a prize, they are not just hurting you. They are dishonoring the image of God that you carry. They are attempting to tear down what heaven built up. But they do not have the final say. The narcissist may stop touching you, but it does not mean you're untouchable. They may stop speaking love, but it doesn't mean you're unlovable. You are not the sum of their neglect. You are not defined by their withdrawal. You are not measured by their silence. You are defined by the God who formed you in the secret place, who breathed life into your lungs, who calls you chosen, beloved, and whole. Don't let their dysfunction become your identity. Don't let their withholding become the mirror you use to see yourself. You are still worthy of love. You are still worthy of tenderness. You are still worthy of a love that doesn't disappear when you stop performing. God wants you to come back to the place where your value is no longer up for debate. He wants to restore the broken parts, not by changing the narcissist, but by healing the wounds they left behind. If you've been feeling like you're not enough because of the way they treat you, hear this now. You are more than enough. Their absence is not proof of your inadequacy. It's proof of their inability to love deeply. But you don't have to stay in that cycle. You can rise. You can heal. You can return to the truth. You are fearfully and wonderfully made, and no human rejection can ever cancel your divine value. The enemy loves to use people, especially those with narcissistic tendencies, to tear down what God is trying to build in you. When the narcissist stops being intimate with you, when they withhold affection and connection, it's not just an emotional wound, it becomes a spiritual battle. Because they're not just rejecting your body, they're attacking your identity. They're trying to make you believe that something is wrong with you, that you're not worthy of love, not deserving of closeness. But the truth is, what they tried to break in you, God is standing ready to heal. The narcissist operates in cycles: idealize, devalue, discard, and at the heart of this cycle is control. Withholding intimacy is one of their most powerful tactics because it leaves you starving for connection. It creates a deep longing and a desperate ache that makes you vulnerable. But God sees beyond the surface. He sees the games, the power plays, the emotional starvation. And He doesn't just offer you temporary relief. He offers healing at the root. He offers restoration, not just for your heart, but for your soul. You may have been told through actions or words that you're not enough, that if you just changed this or fixed that, they would come back to you. But don't believe the lie. The problem was never your worth. It was always their inability to love in a healthy, godly way. And that's not something you can fix with more effort, more loyalty, or more sacrifice. What they've tried to break in you, God is determined to restore. God does not withhold love. He does not use intimacy as a bargaining tool. He does not abandon you emotionally. He draws near to the brokenhearted. He binds up wounds. He lifts those who are crushed in spirit. And He wants to meet you in the very place where you've been hurt. Where the narcissists created confusion, God brings clarity. Where they sowed doubt, God speaks truth. Where they built walls, God opens doors to healing. This is your moment to stop trying to win back someone who was never meant to have the power to define you. You were not created to be someone's emotional puppet. You were created to reflect the glory of a God who loves without conditions and heals without hesitation. The pain you felt, the rejection, the loneliness, the emotional abandonment, God is not ignoring it. He's using it, not to destroy you, but to bring you into deeper freedom. He is taking the very thing the enemy meant for evil and turning it for your good. Let them walk away if they must. Let them withhold if they choose. But don't let them steal your identity. You are not broken, you are becoming. You are not discarded, you are being delivered. And in the hands of your Redeemer, nothing that was used to devalue you will go to waste. Healing is here. Restoration is here. And it begins when you stop chasing their affection and start receiving God's love. Beloved, what you've endured in silence, God has seen with compassion. The withholding, the confusion, the spiritual and emotional torment, it was never love. It was never what God intended for you. The narcissist's refusal to be intimate was not just a relational failure, it was a spiritual warning. A signal from heaven to awaken your heart and redirect your path, because real love does not manipulate. Real intimacy does not punish. And the sacred bond God designed was never meant to be used as a tool of control. You are not invisible. You are not unwanted. And you are certainly not unworthy. The absence of their affection is not the absence of your value. In fact, it is in their silence that God has begun to speak. In their rejection, God is revealing truth. And in the hollow spaces where they stopped showing up, God is ready to fill you with healing, wholeness, and peace. You are not being abandoned, you are being rescued. So now is the time to stop begging for what drains you and start embracing the one who restores you. You do not have to stay in a place where love is a weapon. You do not have to remain where connection is conditional. You were made for more. You were made for love that mirrors heaven, intimacy that flows from honor, and partnership rooted in the Spirit of God. Let today be the day you choose truth over trauma, healing over holding on, and freedom over fear. God is not only exposing what hurt you, He is inviting you into something holy, something whole, something real. And as you step into His light, may every lie fall off you, may every chain break. Because you are chosen, you are cherished, and you are called for greater. Walk away from what wounds. Run toward the one who heals. The love you deserve is already waiting in the arms of a faithful God who never stops loving you.